I have been so excited for Our Last Crusade ever since I read the synopsis and checked out the preview. This seemed to me that if you messed up this idea, that would be laughable because this is a match made in heaven, at least for someone like myself. There's a Romeo and Juliet style love story of forbidden love, two elite soldiers on two opposite sides of a great war, both wanting peace for the land, but each of their sides wanting to say, hey, you have to kill the other side for peace, where both of them most likely want to go for the more diplomatic and noble route. You have the idea of medieval-like magical fantasy settings merged with modern-day technology, so you have that magical flair, but you also have guns, you have swords, you have tanks, you have planes, right? It's this mix and match of such a unique idea that if this failed, it would be just so disappointing. And I am happy to say that Our Last Crusade Episode 1 is not only a great first episode, it's one of my personal favorite first episodes that I've watched this fall season. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea and not everyone's going to love it as much as myself, but this strikes that exact formula that I've been wanting for so long. I love war-driven stories, and the fact that this seems to be like it's actually a very prominent focus for this story rather than just having like, oh, it's a war but we're actually in high school. Oh, it's a war but we're actually focusing on this. No, there's such an interesting concept going on here, and the fact that we have two sides very much wanting to stop the war, but it feels like history has gone on for so long that people probably don't even really know what they're fighting for anymore, and the only way that they see the war to ever end is if they kill the other side or kill the leader of the other side. And what better way to kind of stop a war than taking out the elite soldier, which happens to be this ice princess. So, you know, someone who broke the law, who set someone free, only gets a year in prison because you're such an elite soldier. We're going to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Okay, well, I want my team. And honestly, the team wasn't as cliche as I thought it was going to be. I thought we're going to have like little lolly girl here. Nope. She acts like a little lolly, but she's 22 and she actually looks like a teenager, which helps. And you just have this very interesting, almost friendship family dynamic. And then when you get into the more action-heavy scenes, it is beautifully animated. It is so visually impressive. The color palettes, the way things explode on screen. I love the idea of having guns do one thing and then you'll have this magical mage-like sorcery on the other hand. Our main character dual-wielding swords like Kirito over here, who has a blade that can literally cut through magic. It's such an intriguing concept, but the thing that ties this together is that forbidden, taboo love story. And this is where I thought it could be horrible. If the two main characters, Alice as well as Isekai, were horrible characters, or one of them wasn't as good as the other, this would be so cringy. And while people probably will watch this episode and some will say, oh, it makes no sense that, you know, she would get flustered after trying to kill him after he caught her, and all that thing. Both of these characters are driven by one thing. They want the war to end, but they're not war-hungry, bloodthirsty killers. They're just doing what they think they have to do in order to bring peace. But when you see an elite soldier face off against another elite soldier and they're saying things very similar to your internal thoughts, it's very understandable why you would get so flustered. And while it's a little cliche to have them reunite at a play that's very similar to a Romeo and Juliet style story, as they both are similar to Romeo and Juliet's kind of forbidden love and how honestly it feels like, are we going to build up to both of their deaths kind of ending the war at some point in this story? It's something that did bring a grin to my face because it's a good template to use, and I think what better medium than anime to take something like two powerful soldiers on two opposite sides, falling in love, trying to find a way to end this pointless war, but their sides not listening to their voice of concern. It's such an intriguing concept, and honestly, is one of the freshest and most exciting ideas I've seen in fall 2020. And you know how much I've been reviewing this season. I love a lot of series this season, but this one screams Brandon. It's exciting. I love how it's not just like, oh, you're finally back into an almost fantasy-like world, but no, it looks like modern-day Japan for a majority of it. There's obviously aspects that scream medieval isekai-like fantasy, but it's nice to just have these characters grow up in a world that just so happens to have magical sorcery and really futuristic technology, or technology that resembles our own Earth. But then you also have so much that feels like that medieval setting that you only get to see if a character gets hit by a car and reincarnates in another world. It's so exciting, and the character banter across every character I actually enjoy. Don't get me wrong, there's a couple of tropey elements in this episode, like when you get introduced to supposedly the leader of the group, the first thing you see is her giant tits kind of focus in on the camera before they bounce back down. There's some general anime flusteredness and things like that that are typical and cliche, but nothing really made me roll my eyes to the point that I was like, oh, you're ruining what makes this anime special. All the character interactions from two elite soldiers honestly feeling like they had this best friend relationships, and I mean, guns and swords kind of working together is just a cool concept, and they honestly have great banter. The two female characters on the squad, while there definitely is flirtatiousness towards them, it doesn't feel like that's their character trait. They honestly feel like a group of people who've known each other for a long period of time, and they're very comfortable around each other. They had fun banter, they had funny banter, they had badass banter. I just love the general remarks like how back in the day they would have left Isekai to deal with an entire squad by himself, just highlighting once again just how powerful he is, which is honestly a great way to once again reinforce why someone like this, who apparently broke the law to the point that he should be getting the death penalty, only got a year in the slammer, then gets released, has anything he wants to go after someone. Why would they put so much trust in him? Soldiers are saying, like, you're ridiculously strong, we don't even need to back you up, but I mean, I guess how the tables have turned. There's great exposition in this show without it being overly driving, like, oh, and here we have main character who did this and this throughout the war and blah 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 blah. It's just casual remarks that feel naturally to just expose information in very natural ways that you would say, oh, these are people who've known each other for long periods of time. General remarks like this should pop up. It's great to see that, and while characters like Alice are the ones we've seen the least amount of, it's clear she's going to be a very prominent role in this show, especially considering that I think both of these characters, while they're not like, oh, they're in love right now, but they're both very intrigued by the other because you're the elite soldier, I'm the elite soldier, we're on two opposite sides. Do you really want peace? Do you really not want bloodshed? And I'm really interested about those conversations going forward. The production was incredible. I love the background art was actually one of the stars of the episode for me. I just love, especially when the magical stuff, like they were summoning swords and stuff. There were so many interesting things happening, and it definitely felt like something like a high quality isekai setting of what you would see. And at times it looked like Psychopaths in terms of the modern day futuristic appeal to some of the buildings. It was just very high quality, and you can tell there was passion behind this project. You could have slapped the most generic kind of just wacky and just honestly underwhelming visual presentation, and the setting should lend itself to be popular enough. But it feels like they went a step above what you're expecting, and the voice actors just, I heard a lot of familiar faces, and honestly, I am ecstatic to hear the cast behind the show because they are all talented actors, and I am so excited for more. It just screams me. It's something that's going to blow me away, I'm pretty sure, week by week, and even if this isn't a popular show, this is honestly going to be one of the most fun series to review for me. It hits that kind of like forbidden romance love story, and even if they don't go like madly in love, there is that appeal even if they don't romantically get involved. The idea of two unlikely sides wanting to join forces, but their actual higher commands saying, no, we'll kill you if you pursue this. It's just such an intriguing concept. Great mechanics, like the whole idea of magic meets modern technology. Everything about it, it's good. I had a blast, and I could have watched 20 episodes in a row of this, in my honest opinion. Let me know your thoughts and feelings of Our Last Crusade down below. Did you love it as much as me, or did you find it a bit of a letdown? If you enjoyed the video, of course, if you'd like to share your support, and be sure to subscribe if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.